Assalamualaikum, students at Jakarta Islamic School. My name is Mr. Aren, and I'm here to help you with your English today. So today what I want to talk to you about is speaking on the phone. So maybe some vocabulary that you might hear when speaking on the phone, and just ways to generally make it much easier for you in the future. Maybe you're planning to work abroad, or you have family abroad. Just ways that you could speak on the phone, general conversation, and some vocabulary that you can use. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's start. So some of this vocabulary you may already know, and it may be very easy for you to understand. Others you probably don't, but let's see. So let's start with something basic. If your phone is ringing on the phone, the first part of the vocabulary, the first piece of vocabulary that I want to talk to you about is answering the phone. So obviously answering the phone is when you're picking up the phone ready to speak. So if you are making the phone call, if you are calling someone else, mainly not really your like friends or family, if you're calling someone's home phone or like the telephone at home or something like that, when you're calling, when someone picks up, you would ask, hello, is that Jonathan? Like your friend Jonathan, or hello, is that whoever you're asking for? Now this is actually it's more casual, it's more informal. You would only really use this when talking to like your friends or your family or someone, not in a business kind of way. Now, if you want to sound a little bit more formal, if you're calling another business or something like that, you would ask, oh, can I speak to, or could I speak to, and then whoever it is that you're looking to speak to. So let me give you an example of that. So if you're calling your friends or your family, you'd say, hello, is that Jonathan? My friend Jonathan. And if I'm gonna be talking to like a business, if I'm calling up like a call center, I would say, could I speak to Mr. Smith, please? So whoever I want to speak to. It just sounds more polite. Could I speak to is more polite than hello, is that? Now, if you make a phone call and you're not quite sure who's answered the phone, you could ask straight up, whom is it that I'm speaking to, or who am I talking to, please? So this would be like if you're calling, again, your friends, your family, a business, like an office. You would call up and say, sorry, who am I speaking to again? Just so you understand who it is that you're talking to. And obviously, to be very polite with the who am I speaking to, it's always a good idea to use please at the end of that. Or even if you're going to ask, like the previous one that we spoke about before this one, could I speak to Jonathan, please? So it's always a good idea to be polite on the phone using please and thank you. Now, if you're on the phone and the person you're speaking to would like you to wait, or you would like someone to wait for you while you go and do something else very quickly, you would use hang on or hold on, or even to be more polite than that, you would use would you mind holding. Now this is something we hear very often when you're talking to another business, a call center. They would ask you, oh, would you mind holding? or please hold. Now, this is if you're going to step away from the phone for a second. If you want to speak a little bit more informal, you would say hang on or hold on. That is slightly more informal. You'll only really use that with friends, family, or people that you actually know. When it comes to a business, they would ask you, hold please, or would you mind holding please? Now this is more formal. This is what a business would use, whether you're calling a business or the business is calling you, and they need to step away from the phone or to transfer you to another person. They would ask you to hold. So after you have been holding on or you've left someone on the phone, you would go back to the phone and say, sorry for keeping you waiting, or sorry to keep you waiting. This is basically apologizing for you putting them on hold, and or even maybe saying thank you for waiting, I will transfer you now, or thank you for waiting, blah blah blah. So this is basically just asking them thank you for holding, thank you for waiting, or sorry for keeping you waiting for so long. Now, if someone on the phone asks you for a specific person, let's say someone calls your home telephone and asks for your parents, your mother or your father, and they're not there, they're at work or they're out doing something, you would say, sorry, they're not here right now. Could I take a message? Or even if the person they are asking for is on the telephone already, you would say something like, sorry, she's on the other line. So on the other line means that she's on the telephone already. She's already on the telephone or already on the phone. We don't really use telephone very often. You would only really use it if you're writing exams or things like that. We would normally say on the phone. Now, moving on from that, what I said in the one previously, at the end I said, could I take a message or can I take a message? Now, if someone is on the other line or someone is not there, the person who's calling wants to speak to, you would normally ask them if you could take a message, if you could pass on something important to them. Normally it's obviously for the reason they've called. So can I take a message would be asking the reason they've called so you can relay it, so you can tell it to the person that they've called. This also works the other way around. If you're calling someone and they are not there, you could say, oh, can I just leave a message and let them get back to me? So you're leaving a message, you're telling them the reason you've called for them to tell the person that's not available. And then, can I get back to you, or can they get back to me, means can they call me when they're available. Now, if you are busy and someone calls you, you would normally say something like, oh, can I call you back? Can I call back later, or can I call back in 10-15 minutes? And you would often hear someone say that, oh, can I call you back? And you would normally answer, okay, then call me back when you're ready. Now again, if you're talking in a more formal way and you're calling back an office or a business after you missed their call, you would normally say, oh, I'm just returning the call from Mr. Smith, for example. I'm just returning the call from the person who called earlier. So you would say something like, oh, I missed the call from Mr. Smith earlier. I'm just returning his call. Now, often when you're on the phone, you're giving a name that you don't, so you're given something that you don't understand. You're given a name maybe that you don't understand or you don't know. To be polite, you would actually ask, sorry, how do I spell that, please? So you're asking how to spell the name of the person or of the thing in general that you don't understand. How do I spell that? So maybe it's an address or maybe it's someone's name, for example. So how do I spell that, please? And normally they would spell it out for you. Now, on the phone, what often happens is they use something called they would often use something called the phonetic alphabet. So maybe you've heard this before, and maybe here in Indonesia you have your own version. It would be something like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, so on, so on. It's from A to Z, and that makes it easier for you to understand. So, for example, my name would be A Alpha, R Romeo, E Echo, and N for November. Now, that makes it much easier because obviously if you're talking about M or N, it can be very difficult on the phone to tell the difference between the two. So what I'm going to do for you now very quickly is I'm going to put something up on here so you can see the phonetic alphabet. Maybe you guys can try and spell your name using the phonetic alphabet. It's also known as the NATO phonetic alphabet, which it does differ from British and American. I'm sure in Indonesia you have something very similar. So I'm going to put it up on the screen for you now, just so you can have a quick look. So that is a very popular way to spell something on the phone. Using phonetic alphabet, it makes it easier for you to understand, just so you don't get confused by what they're spelling. So moving on further to maybe problems that we have on the phone, there are many ways that we can express, many different ways of using English vocabulary to express that we are having trouble on the phone. So normally if you have like no signal, or the person you are calling has no signal, or even they just don't answer the phone to you, you would say something like, I can't get through. I can't get through means that you can't get through to the call. You can't get through to the person that you are trying to speak to. Or if the other person is on the phone already and you're trying to contact them, we actually call that engaged or busy. Very, like the line is busy or the line is engaged. So this often happens if you try to call someone and they are already on the phone to someone else. You would say the line is busy or the line is engaged. Or it happens actually very often here in Indonesia. I've experienced it a lot, where the phone number is no longer active. So you would say, I can't get through, the line is no longer active, or the phone number is no longer active, or I can't get through because the line is engaged. Now, when speaking on the phone and you have difficulty hearing someone, it's very unusual to blame the person that's speaking. You're not going to say that you're too quiet, start shouting. It's very unusual to blame the person. We normally blame the technology. So you would say, sorry, can you speak up? It's a very bad line. Or, sorry, can you say that again? You're breaking up. You never normally blame the person that's speaking. You always blame the technology. So can you speak up, or can you say that again? I can't hear you, it's a bad line. That means the line is not very good. It happens often, the line will break up depending on the person's signal. So whether you're talking to your friends or a business, it's not impolite to ask them to repeat themselves or to say something louder because you cannot hear them. But it's often a good idea to say please at the end. So you could say, could you speak up please, or could you say that again please? So using please is often obviously very polite. And yeah, so that's what we would normally use. Now, if you're on the phone and the phone call suddenly comes to an end for no reason, you would call back and say something like, sorry, I think we got cut off, or I think the line cut. This often happens if someone has bad signal, or you accidentally pressed a button on your phone. It happens very often at the moment with all the touch screen, and your face is all sweaty if you've been on the phone for too long and you accidentally press the screen and the phone cuts off. So you would say, sorry, I think we cut off, or I don't know what happened there, I think we got cut off. Now, something that's happened to me very often, especially here in Indonesia, and I'm not sure why. I have a lot of people call me and they're not actually looking for me, they're looking for someone else. So I want to go through some of the things that we might say to them to correct them, to tell them that they have the wrong number. So you would say, for example, if they're asking for Mr. Smith, but you are Mr. Johnson, you would say, sorry, I think you have the wrong number. Or you could say something like, there's no one here of that name. There's no one here by the name of Mr. Smith. I'm Mr. Johnson. I think you have the wrong number. It's very basic. It's just the way that we would communicate with the person that's calling for somebody else. So guys, I think that's all we have time for today. So I hope this helps you with what you're looking to do. I hope this helps you with phone vocabulary and helps you in your day-to-day English. Thank you very much everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.